Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Kevin Crawford runs Designing Success, an organisation that helps owners of architectural practices find balance in their lives. He's made networking connections at networking events, but also naturally by chatting to people on planes or by the side of a pool. Thanks very much for being my guest on the podcast today, Kevin.
Good morning, Liz. Are you good?
Very good, thank you. So you're a life and business strategist for owners of architectural practices, which is very niche, and we'll find out why when you start to tell us your story. So have you always worked in the architecture industry?
Yeah, it certainly feels like it. But yeah, since going back to 1987, that's when my dad established the family practice, which was Crawford, or is Crawford Architecture, in Montrose. And yeah, I started going into the business when I was 14 years old. So I'm now 42. So yeah, I think it's a lifetime in architecture. Yeah, not always in the same roles, obviously, but going in as a 14-year-old, and yeah, I guess just that was where the journey started. That's where the learning started.
Yeah.
Um,
And so
yeah,
what kinds of things were you doing at the age of 14?
probably just getting told to, I don't know, take the mail up to the post office or something. But yeah, I was gradually learning. When you look back, maybe didn't realise it at the time, but you are picking up bits and pieces over from a very early age. So when I went to university, what was it, 18 or 19, then again, maybe not appreciating it at the time, but I probably had a 4-year head start in, live working environment. Clearly, I wasn't, doing, designs or anything like that, but just learning how a business
Yeah.
from my dad. I had first-hand, education, I guess, from my dad, who's running his own practice, and I guess by that time, I can't do the maths right now live, but whatever that was, 1987 when he started, and then that was me 14. So, yeah, learning from his experience as well, which was good.
And presumably after you qualified at university, you had a ready-made job to go back to.
Yeah, and that's maybe where it's slightly different to many people's journey, because I had that ready-made practice almost. So I chose to do the 4-year course up at Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, and obviously I didn't have a job interview, I didn't have anything like that, and I chose probably, well, whether I chose it or whether it was, the role just created itself over the years, but you go from being that 14-year-old through to, obviously running the practice and everything that goes with running a business, and some of that's obviously niche. Part of the business is niche to architecture, obviously, but a lot of the things, like many businesses, it's the same sort of stuff, it's culture, it's systems, it's strategies, it's all these sorts of things. So, yeah, it's been a very varied role over the 27 years, I think.
And so when was it that you took over the family firm?
So, gradually, there wasn't, like a real date, I guess, but, with my dad, he'd done it for however long he'd done it for, and then gradually, he began to play more golf, and when, the grandkids for him come along, and, so that's perfect, it worked in well, and he was almost still involved. So, yeah, you gradually took over, but I think that's been certainly 20 years, running the practice, and seeing it grow over that time, and then that, maybe skipping ahead, but that then came to the succession planning, which was one of the biggest challenges in the business. So yeah.
So obviously architecture is in your blood, but did you ever think about going in a different direction and doing something different?
I don't know if I had a choice, but no, I did. Like probably so many young people, I wanted to play football. That was the only one that really springs to mind. But now I know what it takes. Probably back then, I thought, I I now know that everything in life you need, you know, consistency, you need discipline, you need, all these things. And yeah, I've learned it in business. So yeah, uh, I probably didn't ever look back, I guess, but, from these
Yeah.
years at 14, 15, 16, I don't recall ever, I think that was just, yeah, that's what I was doing. I was already doing it. And yeah, so no, I don't think anything really, there was never really a diversion from it.
Yeah. And so how have things changed over time for you? Obviously, you've been in the practice a long time now, but external things change as well. The world changes around you, doesn't it? How do things develop?
Yeah, I remember when I first started, it was, the drawing boards that my dad worked on.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I did have a bit of experience of that right at the start before they moved over to, systems like CAD and things like that. But I guess now is probably not just for architecture, obviously, but, with AI and
Mm.
everything that goes with it. And yeah, the world is just a different place, isn't it? We can't, there is tradition. There is some of the traditional things that work, but a lot of the tradition had to be challenged, in the business. So so much has changed. It's a completely different uh, place, and I've seen so many changes. I guess I've dealt with, I always called it a multidisciplinary practice. We've had architects, technologists, technicians, finance, operations managers, admin, people with qualifications, people without qualifications, some who have grown into highly valuable assets within the
Mm.
company. So it's just interesting that every person's journey is different,
Yeah.
and even at the outset, my journey was slightly different to so David, who'd also been in the practice from the same age as me, he I did the 4 year architectural technology course, and he was doing the school architects course. So a strategic business decision at a very young age was that he would continue with the university stuff, and I didn't,
Mm.
because I realised that I didn't need to be the architect going to site, out to site to sign things off.
Yeah.
We decided to employ people to do that,
Yeah.
and I therefore obviously I did do a lot of the design roles and everything over the years, but mainly when I look back at that point, my focus had to go into being managing a business, and managing teams and setting visions and 1 year plans, 3 year plans, 5 year plans,
Yeah.
all the way through to succession planning. So yeah, I guess that it could have probably went a completely different road if I had gone down the full architect title role and started, going out to site and signing things off. But we had people to do that within the company, so I personally didn't need to do that as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, just
Yeah.
different journeys, different paths. But yeah,
So tell me a bit about what life became like running a practice. You said that the practice kind of ended up running you.
yeah, there's no doubt in that. I think it's all I always say to my boys, I've got, Cameron's 11, Charlie's 8, and, I try to, educate them from a young age that you'll never fail. It's just all learning, isn't it? And
Mm.
we learn from our mistakes, but, we can't really fail. So I do have a lot of regrets, but the regrets are probably more a hindsight factor that if everybody had that,
Yeah.
we change so much. So, um, I now class it as just a journey, and that journey, I feel fortunate that I've managed to find. So it's not about. I used to think it was about the amount of time that you worked. So I used to go in at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Oh.
and all these crazy days when you don't have time to have your breakfast, you don't clean your teeth, you just go in the shorts that you were sleeping in. Horrible times.
Mm.
But I felt that at the time, I felt I needed to do that. And I almost had an attitude where somebody questioned that, whether that's, my own family questioning. I think my attitude was always like, I need to do it, like
Yeah.
very, almost like, not aggressive, but very protective of it. I need to be in at 4 o'clock in the morning. My business needs me, and need to keep everybody happy, whether that was clients or, team members. But looking back, that was crazy, obviously.
Yeah.
But I do know that from the architects, technicians, technologists, whatever their background or title is, the ones that are running their practices, I just know that so many of them, in reality, the practice is running them. And I actually find it quite sad in a way at times, because I feel lucky that my boys are young enough, and I've always, obviously I've always had time for the kids and the family stuff. But like, I speak to people that maybe just it passes them by, and the business has ran them, and they've not been able to get off the hamster wheel. And I had a back operation in 2023, and I do put it down to sitting in that seat for you know however many hours a day, whatever that was, 100-hour weeks or whatever, and not looking after myself. So now the reason I've gone under the title with life and business strategist is an interesting one, because when we looked at my new venture after the transition to employee ownership in Crawford Architecture, and the freedom that then gave me to not only teach all the people at Crawford Architecture, but teach others who are experiencing the same problems. What we realised is that it's not just about, the architects are good at designing their houses. They spend all their time designing buildings and spaces for others, but they don't actually spend time designing their own lives and their own businesses. So we realised that it went much deeper than the job, if you want to call it that. So for me, if I don't look after myself, then this is what my back operation taught me, that I wasn't able to play football with my kids. I wasn't able to coach their football. I wasn't able to walk. I wasn't able to run. I wasn't able to be in the business. I wasn't able to really do anything. And I realised that when I didn't have my health and my fitness and my well-being, then I don't have anything. So that was obviously then became number one. So I now invest time and money into myself. That starts, with daily routines. That starts with, making sure I get my exercises done, whatever I'm doing. If it's a walk, a run, a workout, I do that first thing before the kids are up. And I started to realise that then made my mindset better, so that I'm like anybody else. If they've got young kids or whatever, it's not a perfect picture. So the kids are shouting for breakfast, they're spilling their cereal. It's normal. And I just want this like almost like a story to be like that. It's not all it's not all it's not easy. It's not, you're juggling, you're still juggling. But I'm in a much better mindset for the daily challenges if I've looked after myself first in the morning.
So how easy was it to transfer the business into the format that it is now?
Not easy at all. So we were also a family business, and my dad, was approaching 70. We'd always said, we had a great relationship over the years, and we'd always said that we would. I think my dad's words were always like, "Well, we'll sort it out over a coffee or a pint or whatever it was," and it seemed easy. But that was him being advised by, maybe incorrectly at the time. What we realised is that we had a real problem, and that how did he retire? Do you just hand the baton on? Was I going to buy the business off him? Was I like 50% shareholders each? So do I buy 50%? I then realised with Cammy at 11 years old and Charlie at 8, I didn't really want to spend the next however many years buying a business. For them to turn around and say, they're not going to care, if I run a business or not. So I think that was there wasn't a plan. That was basically why we had to look into it. So I then spent around about a year researching the best thing for the practice. And that was for me, for my family, for my mum and dad, and for everybody at Crawford Architecture who's been there for a lot of them have been there for a long time. You're talking some Jill's 35 years, coming up for that. David's the same as me, 25, 27 years. A lot of them 10 years plus. So they deserved it as well. I think tradition told me and my dad that it's a family business, so nobody else comes into it, or but we're just blocking paths for people. And I now just see it completely different. I just personally, I know it's not for everyone, but it worked well for us in that it gives my dad a retirement plan. It lets everybody else, take a bit of pressure off of, or a good bit of pressure off of me, because everybody's coming up now with great ideas. They're not just doing a job anymore. They're part of it. They're part of the vision. They're part of the success.
Yeah.
So I I'm a big believer now that what are we all working for? Like what's our purpose? What's our
Hmm.
aim? And I think for me, you can work all the hours in the world, you can make all the money in the world, but I think for me it's the freedom now to choose what I do every day.
Yeah.
Now I'm not meaning that obviously I'm
Yeah.
not meaning that I choose to do nothing, but I'm meaning that I'm not dictated by pressure. I'm not dictated by somebody shouting at me saying, I need this today, or I need, I need you, I need you, I need you. And I was my day was shaped by other people, whereas now my day is shaped by what I truly believe to be the best use of my time and how I can make an impact on other people's days and lives as well. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. So tell me
it's good.
about your new venture, Designing Success. So who is it that you're helping, and how are you helping them?
Yeah, so it's really exciting. So after, with all the experience that I've got, I realised that I also know what it's like. I know what it's like to juggle projects, people, profit, all at the same time. Trying to get headspace to think clearly, and going back to the business running people. A lot of people being overworked, undervalued, reactive all the time, and it was actually through collaboration with other architects or technicians, technologists in the industry. So we're building an app at the moment, and this sorry to jump a wee bit, but this was another thing I wanted to do. I wanted to build an app
Mm.
specifically for architecture practices to help everything run more smoothly, efficiently,
Yeah.
and really help, because we're an industry that there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of time-consuming things that tradition tells you. There's, just a it's quite a complicated jigsaw. So we've got the um, we've got the app as well, and I think when we started building all these things, I was speaking to other practice owners, and very quickly realised that I wasn't alone. I used to think I was alone
Hmm.
with the problems and challenges. To be honest, I used to self-doubt myself. I used to probably think that I wasn't as good as other practices, because I
Hmm.
kind of feel that the picture that was painted was always like, oh, or the misconception I always got was, oh, you've got an architecture practice, that must be great, and they've no idea, the challenges that were behind the scenes. So I started to find out from other practice owners that they were facing exactly the same as me.
Hmm.
I then started to realise that, unbeknown to me, what I was actually doing was helping a couple of practices with all the stuff that we'd put together. With it's a framework. It's everything that goes with it, and you realise that although I was not charging for it, I realised that I was being adding value to these businesses, and that's probably where it started. So the freedom that I've created from the employee ownership and still being involved, but obviously giving me time to go and do this venture now as well, and release the app. And I guess the main aim is through Design the Success, is to help other. I don't obviously want to help. I can't help everybody, but I want to help a select number of practice owners that are basically experience what I was experiencing
Yeah.
over that 20 years. I just don't want to see people struggle, feel trapped, when
Yeah.
freedom, I know now that I'm on this side how rewarding it is. And I'm not talking about, it's not the money, it's the freedom. To choose to go out for a walk, to choose to be here with the kids in the morning, to choose to pick them up, but clearly still work hard, but work efficiently, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, just helping them, really.
Yeah.
Here to help, give something back.
So let's turn to the networking side of things now. How do you like to grow your network? What methods do you use?
Like, so I don't know if I'm unique in this one or not, but I get a lot of joking about. what I do, but I just do it naturally. So some of my stuff's been in sauna steam rooms, it's been on planes, it's been by the poolside on holiday. I just feel that I guess I'm proud of obviously what I've done and proud of the business and all the rest of it. And I like turning the conversation to business, so which probably proves that that's my, one of my true passions in life. Um, and yeah, just obviously go networking events and things like that. But I think for me, it's about building relationships with people, and you never. It might not it may not be that they turn around and you've got an opportunity to work with them there and then, but you never know where these relationships come from.
Yeah.
And I always feel that when you go for a coffee with somebody, it's just you never know how you can help each other. So I think for me, personally, I've just done it a wee bit naturally over the years, but I love it. So no matter where it is, I just like speaking to people and just seeing how you can potentially help each other.
Yeah.
So that's probably the first thing that springs to mind.
Are you doing anything differently since you've sort of changed direction and you're doing the sort of coaching side of things now?
Yeah, so I guess what was always told so I've got mentors and so within design success there's different areas. Okay, so it's like, for example, you've got your health and well-being, which includes the mindset and things. You've got self-development, you've got wealth and finance, you've got all the different areas in life, not just the life in the practice. I've invested time and money into having mentors in these areas, and I guess surrounding myself with the right people. There's a lot of clearly the world we live in nowadays with all the social platforms. There's a lot of noise out there. I think I learned that from my back operation. People were all telling me different things to do, so you've got to choose who you listen to. Obviously, I've developed a network of mentors in each of these areas, which helped me, immensely. And that probably, there's been, you're probably into circles that initially I wouldn't have felt comfortable with. So the whole, I guess the approach is different, because you're then speaking to, previously I would be speaking to clients, and still in the role in Crawford architecture, that comes naturally, business development and strategies, and stuff like that. So you're still doing almost a network and business development role in these companies, whereas with design success, initially, the networking is to try to, have a collaboration connection with, I would say like-minded as opposed to growth-minded, because not everybody wants to grow. Some people just want to be like a bit more clarity or a bit more with a vision or something. So probably looking at it's not a massive network. It's probably growing it maybe a wee bit, and working with people that are like me. They want they just want to enjoy life, really, to sum up.
So my final question then, Kevin, if people want to connect with you and learn more about either the architecture practice or designing success, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, at the moment we've got the website, we've got the LinkedIn the profiles there. It's probably the best two, and the contact details are on both. Just feel free to get in touch with. We've got myself, I've obviously founded it. I've got a few different people in different areas, different specialities, with obviously links to the mentors who are specific to certain areas, you know what I mean? So yeah, we can happily have a call, and just hopefully we can people can see value from the story.
Yeah, lovely. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with me.
Thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.